Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the True North Network. I'm one of your hosts, Brandon,
We're their host, Brody.
and today is episode 142. It's been like a month and a half since we recorded. Moving and getting our lives together was difficult. So we just stopped recording for a while, and I was gone for like 2 weeks in July. So it's kind of hard to plan around that. But today, if you can't tell, we're joined by the Hood Brothers. The one in the blue shirt, his name's Andy, and his buddy Eric.
I like guns.
They're avid gun lovers. If you guys remember, I kind of mentioned Brody and I went out shooting with these guys, and we kind of got that experience for the first time. I met Andrew at our work at the paint store, at the unspecified, untrademarked paint store. And we went shooting, and he came to one of my parties, and now we're here. And he just wanted to kind of join and talk about one of his interests, which is guns. So, you guys want to introduce yourselves to the viewers?
Well, I already introduced myself. I like guns. So,
I mean, same thing here, man. I like guns. You got to protect yourself in this country, though. If you identify as a gun owner, then you're screwed because you're gonna get flagged, and that's just the way things go in this country, right?
Yeah.
Right.
that's why we're.
Yeah, that's all the do, the do, the drip.
Yeah. So I guess I'll just start off by asking you guys, how did you guys get into like your love for guns?
I think mine was through my brother mainly. Can't see shit with these on. Yeah, he started shooting, and I would always go for hunting with him, and then it just evolved from there. I didn't think I would own a handgun. I thought it was unnecessary. Then I left the toxic person in my life who thought that they were unnecessary, and
Right.
I have a handgun.
Here we are.
Unrelated incidents, however. Let's specify that right now.
Completely unrelated.
He's still alive.
Yeah, as far as you know, anyways. Nice, Eric. What about you?
Gosh, where do I start? So it was my father mainly. He's a gun nut like me. Back in I was probably 10, no less. I would have been 7 or 8. At my old house, there was a big freezer in the basement we had. I got interested one day. Every time I'd go down there, I'd see it, and I didn't know what the hell it was. One day I mustered up the courage, and I asked my parents, like, what's that case behind the freezer? They both stared at each other, and my mom was like, is it time? And I'm like, or my dad was like, yeah, he's old enough. So he takes me downstairs, he cracks the case open, sure enough, there's just a bunch of guns in there, and I'm like, oh, cool.
I thought you were gonna say
okay,
dead,
I like that.
I thought you were gonna say dead prostitute or something.
Yeah, there was
yeah.
I mean, well, there's dead prostitutes behind the wall, but not,
Oh, okay.
yeah, they were underneath the
Right,
basement,
right.
yeah. So that just kind of started. Then I went shooting for the first time, and the chain just started evolving. We went to a gun show locally here, and I got my first gun, and eventually, the whole nerd in me just evolved into a big nerd. I love the whole guns and themselves, right? They're just awesome. There's so many things you can do with guns besides shooting things, and that's why I love them. They're just a mechanically awesome piece, and that's my story.
So, what was the first gun that you guys have shot?
Well, the first one I shot was a 22 handgun. That was, God, years ago. That would have been like 2008. Was my first gun.
Mine, I think, would have been either my dad's old 22 or it was my brother's 10-22. I don't remember which one was first, but it was a 22 rifle of some kind.
What about you, Brody? Because I know you've said that you used to go out with your dad.
I could not tell you. It was some generic hunting rifle. Because we used to go deer hunting a lot, so it was just here. Shoot this. Okay.
Have gun, shoot that.
Yeah, have gun.
Not
Shoot
me.
that thing down there.
Don't point at me. Point at them.
That's the safest way of doing it, right? Don't introduce any safety. Just like, hey, take this, shoot that.
Yeah. You see that trigger? Pull it. Shoot the deer down
Yeah.
there. Good.
Yeah, that's one thing I don't think I specified in the episode where I mentioned it on shooting is I'm grateful you guys showed us the correct way. Because I feel like a lot of misconceptions when people like shoot guns for their first time is that they're not trained properly and they have a negative experience, and therefore it's kind of cemented in their mind as, oh, this is a bad experience. I'm never doing this again.
Yeah, and when you're shooting like rifles at a full ranges can also be a not great experience. So being able to take the rifles out to a place where it's, you know, no one's around, you've got hills on all sides, you're completely safe there,
Yeah.
but you don't have the pressure of other people there either judging you or calling stop. I need to go check my target after taking 2 shots. So you get, you know, like, you have a better experience, and there's more time to teach safety and follow things properly and have fun.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
I feel like my entire view has changed over the last few years because a lot of how I consumed knowledge about guns was through the media, and as we all know, media is biased in a lot of ways. So I always saw the negatives and never like the recreational uses or like for hunting and stuff. But then as I don't know, my access to other places of knowledge opened up, I was able to like kind of look further into that and see why, you know, some people prefer owning a firearm.
And see, that's the big part about the whole misconception with guns. People see guns and they say, "Oh, that's all the gangsters use that to kill people. That's all guns are for." That's completely wrong. It's not the case, right? Guns are just it's a luxury. It's like cars. It's like sports cars. People like them because they like them. You could go and buy a Volkswagen Jetta and drive it for the next 300,000 kilometers and be fine. And you don't need all that these fancy McLarens and shit. But people like what they like, and that's the one thing I stress of. If you like it, you like it. But nothing's a necessity. A gun's not a necessity, and people don't understand that. And people just guns aren't just killing machines. They're a
recreational. They're a recreational activity. They're a tool. They're, I wouldn't say that they're just a tool though. The big part of them is being a recreational activity. And I can kill just as many people with my Dodge as I could with a gun in one go. So, in theory, when we're talking that way, right? I'm not saying I'm ever gonna go do that. I gotta stress
Hypothetical.
that.
We got to test the
Hypothetically,
statistics
right?
on that.
And again, going along with your thing with the media putting a negative view on it, there was a shooting. I can't remember where it happened, if it was in Canada or the States, and it was done with illegally owned handguns, and they called them AR-15s. So yeah, they know nothing about guns, and they're like, guns are bad, but they've never shot one. They don't know what any of them are.
And it's funny actually, highlighting that about them not knowing it recently. I'm not sure if you guys knew, but recently Canada introduced this whole mandatory buyback for the big 2020 gun ban they did after the Nova Scotia massacre that happened. But for anyone who doesn't know, in 2020, the government came out one day and said, effective immediately, no discussion, no vote, nothing. These 1,500 variants of guns are completely prohibited. You can't use them, sell them, transfer them, anything. It's basically a paperweight without discussion. That was the insulting part. And to capitalize on that, just recently they came out with actually before that even, the government came out and said, we are going to do it's going to be a buyback, but it's not going to be mandatory. The guns that are prohibited will be grandfathered. The anti-gun lobby protest to hell. They said that's not fair. Mandatory buyback. And caved in instantly and said, yeah, you're right, mandatory buyback. So no matter what, if you have it, you need to sell it to them, or else you're carrying. Yeah, you're a criminal. You're carrying a prohibited gun, and that's up to 10 years in prison, right? So the government just recently came out and said, so these are the prices for the guns that you need to give up. These are what we're going to give you. And underneath, they said, we're going to add a survey to see how much you guys think we should give you. We're going to ask gun owners, how much the money do you want for the gun that we're taking from you with force for no question just huge insult. They have no idea what they're talking about.
Yeah.
No clue. An AR-15 rifle, a good AR-15 example, base model, they're about $2,500, and people can mod them to be at least $5 to $10,000, like just the gun itself and mods.
Yeah.
$1,300. That's it.
There's someone
Right.
that's a friend of ours knows who has $15,000 into their AR-15, and they're gonna get $1,337 from the government.
That's it. No questions asked. You can't argue. You can't do anything. That's final and done. But on the other flip side, there's other insulting things where they have no clue what they're talking about. I have an M305 rifle, which is a civilian-based version of the M14's rifle, which the military, the American, predominantly used in the Vietnam War. They're gonna give. They say they're gonna give $2,600 for a rifle we bought for $400. It's completely washed. It makes no sense. They have no clue what they're doing. They have no idea. And it's like the whole ban thing. When they did the OIC, they banned a coffee company. They banned coffee and airsoft gun. They were just like, yep, it looks like an AR-15. It's a variant. And they're progressively, as the days go on, they keep adding more and more and not telling anybody. It's just one day another gun will appear on the list and no one will know. And if you're caught with that, you are in serious shit, like deep trouble.
In that ban, they also banned rocket launchers, which are already banned.
Right.
They almost accidentally banned all shotguns.
Yes.
Well,
Accidentally.
10 and 12 gauge.
No, they did. They did, and then they had to go out on Twitter and they said,
Well,
no, by the way.
it wasn't all, because there's like 14 gauge, which is within the spec that they specified. So the law that or the thing that they put in there was anything with a barrel diameter of 20 millimeters or greater, I think.
Bore diameter.
Bore diameter.
It might be breech. I'm not too sure.
It was bore diameter. So, but they didn't specify what bore diameter is. There's a couple different ways they can specify that. So, like 2 weeks later, they came out after a bunch of backlash and people being like,
what do we do?
"What do we do? Can I go and shoot my 12 gauge?" They
basically, Bill Blair came out on Twitter and said, "Oh, yeah, by the way, 12 gauges are fine. Don't worry."
Yeah, 12 and 10 gauges.
On Twitter, it's like,
Yeah.
fucking
Nice.
Twitter, really? Out of all places, why?
Yeah. So, and then the RCMP put out a thing later as well on Twitter. We got a piece of paper saying if you own an AR-15, an M14, but the civilian version of it, an MPX, and it listed like four guns. They're like, if you own any of these 4 guns, then you can't use it anymore. That's all we got from the RCMP saying anything about the guns, and they're like, for more information, go to our website, and it doesn't work half the time.
The website has nothing and it's always down, so it's a fucking joke.
But where was I? I can't remember. I squirreled, so it's fine.
I mean, and another thing now I'm thinking about is a buyback program. In Canada, it was illegal for a civilian to own a 50 BMG rifle. I mean, actually, to expand on that again, the absolute idiocy, of our gun laws make no sense. So in Canada, they made it illegal for you to hunt with an AR-15. You had to take an AR-15 to the range. It was classified exactly the same as this. It was the exact same classification. This is empty, by the way. This is the same classification that the AR-15 has, but in Canada, you could own a 50 BMG rifle that you could hunt with, you can go out to a farm with, you could do anything with. It was not the same class as an AR-15, which makes no sense, right? And to add on to the buyback program, they came out and said that guns with a muzzle velocity of over 10, or muzzle energy of over 10,000 joules is prohib. 50 BMG. That's what they're saying. They're like 50 BMGs are banned. And they're coming out and they're saying we'll give you $2,000 for your 50 BMG. They're about $8,000 starting rifles, like $8,000, and they know that damn well, right? It's just a huge insulting thing, and it's such a broad, class when they say over 10,000 joules. What the hell does that mean? Like, how do I know what the fucking muzzle velocity or muzzle energy on my gun is if I bought it 25 years ago and they don't make it anymore and there's no information on it and so forth, right? It's complete fog for them. They're just appeasing to the whole mass shooting things that have been happening over the years with the states, which is also what they're doing. Everything that happens in the states, the Uvalde shooting that happened, that's what introduced the whole handgun freeze, right? Thankfully they didn't just push that overnight. That's going to be voted on, but of course with the whole backing that they have in the government, that's obviously going to go through. There's no way it's going to be stopped.
So I'm just gonna pipe in here and say something. This mandatory buyback program that they're doing on AR-15s alone, there's about 90,000 AR-15s in Canada. at $1,337 each, it's going to cost taxpayers $120,330,000
just to buy the AR-15s.
just to buy the AR-15s.
What the Jesus Christ?
We're going to be paying back this for the rest of our lives.
Yeah, just the AR-15 buyback, and let alone, like, think about it. There's all the other guns and everything, and they got to pay the people to go do it, and they got to pay to get them destroyed. So we're going to be in the billions, multiple billions, right? So instead of putting it towards other things that make more sense, they're just it's appeasing people who think it's appeasing the mass that don't understand.
Yeah.
And that's the insulting part, and it's just they're not listening. It's typical. It's
Typical government.
Yeah, right. Typical government.
Yeah, well, I know you and I, Andy, have had multiple discussions on this topic. Like, that buyback program, like, a lot of that money could be used for, like, mental health services, because, like we've mentioned countless times, like, there's so many times where if you look into the mass shooting or the school shooting or whatever it is, at its root, there's some sort of trauma, most often mental health related trauma, and that's being ignored.
So what they're doing is slapping a band-aid on the problem. They're not actually going to the roots of the problem and fixing it.
Yeah, Trudeau's good at that.
And they need to look at how they can make society change and improve society rather than just further splitting people apart, because that's really what ends up happening here.
Well, and especially in the States, you see that, right? Because, like, the fucking NRA pays so much to politicians to basically be like, no, you don't need to do anything. Just, keep people talking about it until they forget about it and move on to something else. And then you have, like, the complete opposite, like, people who live on the West Coast, especially. And it's getting to the point where, like, you're basically dividing your citizens to sit on one side or the other, and eventually it's going to come to a head.
Yeah, exactly.
Just like slavery.
I'm totally for gun control. I think there are some people who shouldn't have firearms.
Yeah.
That being said, if the majority of Canadians have firearms and they go through training and they understand the safety practices with guns, they understand the laws and whatever, and the laws actually make sense so you don't accidentally break them because no one actually tells you all of the secret laws that they change every day. You're gonna grow up respecting firearms, and you're not gonna be using them for those purposes. I think a lot of the times too, people who end up in being a mass shooter, they knew that their parents had guns, but they never used them. They never were taught the respect for them. Like, especially in the States, there's a huge difference between U.S. gun owners and Canadian gun owners. Don't get me wrong, a bunch of people in the States are respectful with their firearms. They understand that they do have the ability to very easily injure or kill someone.
Yeah.
But a lot of them don't understand that, and here, everyone who goes through the gun course, that's like half of the point of the gun course is just getting you to respect them.
It's far too easy in the States for someone irresponsible to obtain something that can do that.
Yeah.
It's not here. Legally, it's not. Yeah. Legally in the States it is. Legally here it's not. But that's and see, the thing is, it is still easy here for someone irresponsible to get them, but the means they use is by getting them from the States, right? Yeah. And that, you think about that, that's the real root of the problem. I think they came out with Stats Canada, and 85% of the guns used in homicides or any gun-related crime were from the States.
Yeah.
So that leaves 15% miscellaneous, and who knows how many that would be from some other places. But see, it's ignoring the actual problem, right?
Well, and then another statistic Eric had looked up too is once every 11 years, this is from Statistics Canada, there is a shooting with a
AR-15.
Is it AR-15? I thought it was a legal firearm, is what you were saying.
I think maybe it was. All I know is I think it was in the past 20 years, there has never been a shooting in Canada done with an AR-15. If I remember correctly. I could be wrong, but that's something that, was in my mind that I think I read at one point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Eric and I just recently, the other day, went through the criminal code, the Canadian Firearms Act, and a bunch of the changes that Trudeau was talking about doing are in there now. So the red flag laws, those are all in there.
And those are a problem in of themselves. Sorry to cut you off, but I'm just thinking about that. The red flag laws, I agree with them in a sense, but in a sense I don't, because you can basically, red flag laws mean if any RCMP officer gets any call in or any, concerning notice about somebody, they can instantly come and take your guns, no questions asked. Nothing.
So
Sweet fuck all.
someone on the internet could say that guy in the blue shirt or that guy in the gray shirt.
Threaten me.
No, they don't. They could say threatened you, or they could say they simply just have to say, I think they're a danger to themselves or others, and they own firearms. And that's your gun's gone. That's your gun license suspended, and you have to now fight for the ability to prove that I'm okay. I never planned on doing anything. I don't know why anyone thought that.
Like in that situation, and this obviously this should be, I think, incorporated throughout the police force, but that's exactly why social workers and police force should be working hand in hand. Because if they're able to assess that you're, mentally okay, and even if you weren't, like that you have your firearms secure away from you, and you're not going to use them against yourself or others, if they can assess that, then there should be no reason to, just revoke your firearms.
Exactly.
There's better means. I mean,
Yeah.
long story short, there's better means than just saying these are gone, your license is suspended, tough shit, you can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
And then it's up in the air. They don't have anything in there saying what happens. How do you prove yourself to be innocent? Will they give you your gun license back and your guns, or are they going to take them and destroy them, and then you just get your gun license back? And then with the RCMP, it's also destroy, because they have been caught in the past selling firearms illegally. So yeah, I can't find those incidences specifically, mainly because when you try and look it up, that you get blasted with the media on
We'll
gang
just
violence and stuff like that.
just call them alleged incidents for now.
Alleged incidents, yes.
So
a lot of alleged crap that goes around through the media that
that
paints everybody in bad weather, but who knows if they actually happened or if it's just someone trying to push their own beliefs through complete lies.
Yeah.
What do you think, Brody, now that we've actually had the experience to, safely and recreationally use firearms? Do you think your opinion of them has swayed? Do you think there should be more or less strict laws? What's your opinion?
Well, mine have always been the same, because like when I was younger, I was trained on a firing range with my uncle and my dad. So like I had the safety with some guns, but not like the knowledge to use all of them. I think they definitely shouldn't be as strict as they are, and the new ones coming out definitely shouldn't be in place. Like I feel like, this is just me, that like the underground or black market for firearms is going to increase a lot with that buyback. People are going to be hiding them, not selling them, or like they said, going down to the States and buying them and bringing them back up anyways. So I feel like there's better ways to go about the stuff that they're doing, and they don't see it. They're just like, oh, this is the 100% best way to do it. We're the best government in the world.
Yeah.
I'd like to chime in on that. Here's the thing. They see it, but the reason they're doing it this way is because it's easiest. It's the most effective way to introduce a fast result, right?
Yeah.
If they're saying this will change the amount, I guess, the charts on shootings and stuff, and they're right, it will. And when it comes out and it's decreased by 0.01%, they'll be like, see, it changed.
Yeah.
We're right. We're doing something right here.
Yeah.
It's not, legalized guns aren't the problem.
Well, and then the whole handgun hold that they're doing, and again, not everyone knows about this. So this was a month ago,
If that.
about a month ago. The Liberal government of Canada decided that they were going to say, we're working on a bill that will make it so you can no longer buy, sell, trade any handguns. And the whole reason why that happened is because there was a shooting in the States. But here, handguns aren't a problem. We have laws that make it so they are not a problem.
Well, I mean, the shooting in the state, it was Uvalde. That was the one that they based it off of, and he used a bloody AR-15. There was no handguns involved, right?
Yeah. So there's no handguns involved. it was in the states they have wildly different laws than we do, and we have laws in place already to prevent it from happening, and those laws are working. And then on top of it, to show how out of touch they are, everyone went, "Oh, I won't be able to buy handguns in a couple of months," and bought Canada out of handguns. And they were like, "Whoa!" The Liberal government was like, "Whoa, we didn't see that happening."
We didn't foresee a large surge in buys from the public over this bill.
It's fucking actually insane how we as a species have such short memories, because like I bring up every time that we talk about like banning handguns or whatever, if you're gonna tell somebody not to do something, they're just gonna do it even more. I mean, the same thing happened during the Prohibition, when they basically just banned alcohol, tried to, cause that drought of alcohol. What did people do? They just either bought stuff up and buried it in their fucking yards or in their house or something, or they just made it themselves. And the exact same thing is happening, and it's not even that long in between these incidents. And the same shit's happening.
Yeah.
420. Have you heard about the 420 on Parliament that they would have every year? The celebration that people... So before weed was legal, thousands of people would go on Parliament Hill and smoke a ton of pot. No one got arrested. No one got detained.
Yeah.
Pot was illegal. It was illegal to have. It was illegal to use. Nothing. Sweet fuck all. But if I was to go on Parliament Hill with a shouldered bolt-action rifle with no magazine in it, which is legal, I would probably get pulled over and shot, or just, shot in general.
Yeah.
So they're breaking the law and they're fine, but I'm not breaking the law, and it's because I have a gun. I'm gonna get in shit for it, right?
Yeah.
I know we've had this discussion before, and maybe you guys have more insights. But like, what do you think would be a better course of action than what they're doing?
Mental health.
Mental health is going to be a really big thing. So the money that they're taking to spend on the buybacks right now could be going towards increasing mental health along the side of firearms owners, possibly introducing a way to do mental health checks on people when they get their guns. That's a very difficult thing to do. A lot of people aren't going to necessarily agree with it, but I think it is something that, like, should kind of be done. Are you extremely depressed? Do you have any, kind of intent? Like, are you going to get a gun, and is it ever going to be a possibility in your mind to kill yourself or someone else with it?
Well,
I
got to chime in here.
Yeah.
They think about, because we already have systems like that in place. Every single licensed gun owner gets a background check every single day.
Yep,
every single day, a licensed gun owner gets a background check.
However, that doesn't incorporate the mental health checks.
Right. But trends, right? I mean, this is it's kind of a scuffed solution, but it's a solution. If you start seeing trends, if they start getting arrested all of a sudden and things like that, then it's kind of like red flag laws. In my opinion, that's a better solution. That's how they should be implementing red flag laws. Like, okay, something's obviously wrong with this man. He went from doing nothing and he's a gun owner to doing something, like getting arrested for, doing all this shit and blah blah blah, right? So that's a solution that's already in place that I think is a great idea.
One of the other ways we were thinking, Eric and I have had this discussion before, and I think Brandon and I have talked about it a little bit, is introducing a bit of a tiered system for gun owners that goes along with your license. Again, not everyone's going to agree with this, but if when I'm in my 30s and I want to own an AR-15 or something of that nature, make it so that I've had my gun license since I was 18. I can buy shotguns, I can buy 22s, and some of the more basic bolt-action hunting rifles, and then from there move up to some semi-auto, larger caliber semi-autos after a couple of years, handguns, put in the more statistically harmful guns, and let me shoot them where I want is another big thing.
Prove yourself. That's all it is. If you can prove yourself trustworthy, I don't see why you can't own what you want.
Yeah. If after 10 years of owning firearms, and doing it safely, never having gotten in any trouble with firearms, never getting any criminal records in the first place, not having getting arrested and whatever, you should be able to own most of the firearms that you want. That doesn't mean everybody should be able to walk around with full autos when they're 95, but because once you start putting full auto guns into the system, it's easier to get a hold of them and for people to steal them and whatnot. That being said, this is something most people probably don't know. I'm kind of transitioning here a little bit to another topic I want to talk about, but in Canada, it is cheaper to buy full autos than it is to buy most semi-auto rifles. You can buy what was it that you'd say?
So so in Canada there's business licenses in Canada that allows you to obtain, shoot, collect machine guns. I'm sure many people, if they do hear this, know Armagun. Armagun is a Canadian YouTuber, and he has many, 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 many Prohib guns. He has Dragunovs, he has Thompson submachine guns, he has HKs. Those are all Prohib guns, right? The only reason he's allowed to get those is because he has a business license. So under business licenses, they're more strictly enforced. They're extremely hard to get. You have to prove why you should get one, why you should be allowed to have these guns. Excuse me. But when you get it, you can own these.
You can't. Your business can.
Sorry, the business can. The business owns them, but
Yeah.
people of the
As
businesses.
an employee of the business, you're able to
Right.
play around with those firearms. That doesn't mean you can shoot live rounds down them, because that's a whole different thing. You have to.
Yes.
It's not necessarily the business that needs a license to shoot them. They need the place to shoot them. So
It's hard to get.
yeah, you need a range that's certified for shooting prohibited rifles and full autos. Calgary Shooting Center is a great example of this. They have several full autos you can shoot there. It is extremely difficult to get that license. Calgary Shooting Center's way that they got their license, and this is another thing that shows how kind of fucked up the system is, they are writing a book on people's experiences with full autos. So everyone who goes in there has to write something down in this book, whether it just be an initial or something like that, to say what their experience is. And this book has taken them 10, 20 years to write so far, and
I
it's
mean,
still
they
going.
were Calgary Shooting Center, I believe, existed before the whole bans and things came in place. So they had them, and then it was probably easier to get grandfathered into this whole licensing crap that they did. But back to the original point. So anyway, these businesses are able to own and acquire and use these guns with, granted they have the right licensing. And there's businesses in Canada that do sell these machine guns and shit, to other businesses and crap like that.
And export them.
Exactly, yeah. Export is a big part of it. Or there's a big armaments center in Ontario for films. Lots of like Deadpool and shit like that. Lots of guns. They were using the guns that were in Toronto or Ontario, where the fuck it is, I don't remember. Either way, so because the market's so slim, these guys are selling them. They're on the internet, but no one can buy them. So on this one company, Marstar, they're in BC. They're based out of British Columbia. They had a AKS 74U full auto uncapped magazine for $600. Right.
Wow.
M14. Another thing.
If that were in the States,
that'd be $30,000.
that would be easily $30,000. Yeah.
Jesus. See,
Um,
I think I
Probably
got.
even higher.
Let's just bust out the wallet here.
Yeah, right there we go. $600. That'll do. Another thing that what's this? Armagun. There's a place called what's the name? Switzer's auction. They auction off all these Prohib guns and shit. He bought a original, I think it's Springfield Armory that made the M1A or the M14. Springfield M14.
I think so.
I think so. He got one for $900. It's a switch. It's a it's got the thumb switch. It's full auto. It can go full auto. $900 for a full auto 308, right? It's because no one can get them. So they keep coming down, and
yeah,
it's fucking sad because there's
Yeah.
these beautiful examples of proper guns. Beautiful World War II era guns and shit that would be an absolute lovely piece to own. You can't.
Yeah.
Do you?
But you can. Well, I guess you could, but you have to get it deactivated. So they shove a big lead slug in your barrel, and they weld it shut. They weld the breech shut, the mag in, the trigger shut. You can't disassemble it. Yeah, it's basically just a big heavy ass paperweight. There's no point in having one.
Do you?
Yeah.
Do you?
It's
Do One thing I was curious about, which I don't think I've ever asked you guys, do you have to go through a psych eval for your gun licenses?
No.
So I feel like that would be a big thing they should be doing.
So one of the things is the people doing the tests are able to deny you your gun license and kick you out. Oh, here you go. If they don't think you should own one, if they can tell that you're just not you're an unstable person or you have bad intentions. There was a person in my parents' gun class when they went, some Asian guy who kept asking if he was allowed to use them for shooting people. And he was in there for about half an hour until the instructor was like, just go.
You're not getting it.
You're not getting it, just go. Yeah.
You want to know, it's even stupider. To obtain a restricted class license, which lets you own those and the guns that are class restricted, you need to prove to the government why you should own them. And there's different things. Yeah, there's collector, there's shit like that. And you're like,
distributor.
I think it was what was it? Target shooting is one of them, or is it collecting?
It's the only two viable options for owning handguns in Canada or any restricted rifle is collecting and target practice. So there's you could be a competition shooter, and if you say you want a handgun for competition shooting, they just won't get back to you and release your license to you. They can also call up your references when you do a transfer or you go to buy a handgun. They'll call one of your references. That you have to put references down on your application, and they'll be like, do you think that, they'll ask them questions about you and your character and whatever. And they may even call you and ask you why you want the gun. And if you don't say target shooting only or collection,
You probably won't get it.
they'll be like, okay, that's cool, and you just won't hear anything for a couple months. And you have to call them back and be like, this actually happened to my gun instructor once, because it was like 10 in the morning, he was out of it, he was tired, and he said he wanted the gun for competition shooting, Wild West shooting. And he didn't hear back from him for 3 months, so he called him up. He's like, so where's my my approval for the gun transfer? And they were like, oh yeah, why did you want the handgun again? And he's like, oh, target shooting only. They're like, okay, next week it showed up.
Jesus Christ.
And if you say if you say target practice or target shooting, you are not subject to random RCMP checks. If you say collection, they can show up, I believe, still with 24 hours notice.
I think so.
But collection might be a little bit different. I don't remember. So it's either 24 hours notice or no notice, and they will check your collection. With the collection, you have to have a proper gun room. Your safes have to all be bolted down. It's actually a lot stricter to be owning for a collection purpose. Or, well, not necessarily a lot more strict, but the RCMP, it's up to the RCMP officer's discretion when you're using the collection purpose on whether or not you're doing it safely. So
And target shooting is, the target shooting, it's kind of funny. It comes with its own based rules. If you put down target shooting, you need an active membership to a gun range to be able to get the restricted. If you don't have an active membership, they will deny your transfer, right? So if they do search you and shit, and you have restricteds, and
your membership has expired,
you're fucked.
Yep.
Yeah, it makes no sense.
And it's not necessarily you're fucked. It depends on the RCMP officer you have.
You could get shit.
A nice day, so you could get in shit. You could have all of your guns taken away from you. They could tear up your license. They could say, go get your membership within this amount of time and prove it. There's a few different ways, and it's just up to the officer, because there's nothing in law on how they actually handle it.
Yeah, I still think that there needs to be some sort of gun control. I think there's gotta be some sort of sensible medium ground between Japan's super strict policies to America's fucking Wild West policies. There's gotta be something in between that'll, benefit responsible owners, but also punish irresponsible gun owners.
Yes. Well, and a really big part of it would be them going after gangs and gang violence, and
Yeah.
um,
Maybe stop giving guns to the gangs.
yeah, that would help. Because a large number of the shootings we have in Canada are gang related,
Yeah.
and they're yeah, and then as far as gun owners and gun control for them goes, yeah, like there should still be some, because obviously some
Yeah.
people shouldn't have them, and you should have your guns locked up in a safe
Yeah.
or locked up to some degree anyway in a gun room, whatever, because you don't want a 5-year-old kid
Yeah.
playing with your handgun.
Yeah.
Along those same lines, Canada in general, it's very hard to defend yourself in any way.
Yeah.
If you're walking down the street and someone comes up behind you and hits you with a baton and you punch them in the face and knock them out, and they can sue you for that. You're not allowed to defend yourself, and you could actually go to jail, and the person who attacked you in the first place could be scot-free.
Yeah.
And it's the same kind of situation in Canada. I don't necessarily think firearms would be like, personally myself, I would be okay with conceal or open carry. Conceal carry, in a sense, is actually safer.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't want to know that everyone around them is carrying guns because guns
Yeah.
make them anxious. And also, if someone doesn't know if you have a gun, you're not a target.
Yeah.
But if you're in a bank and someone's robbing a bank with a gun, or whatever, or there's an active shooting, like the thing that happened most recently in the States in a mall that didn't allow guns. Someone was concealed carrying their gun into the mall.
Yeah.
And someone else brought in an AR-15. I think it was an AR-15.
It was an
right?
AR-15 that he collapsed and put in his backpack. He went to the washroom, reassembled it, and he went out. He shot, I think, 4 people, killed 3, and the guy shot the dude dead. Saved hundreds of lives, or probably not
Yeah.
hundred, but tens of lives. He saved
Yeah.
lots of lives.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing I would want guns to be allowed to use a gun for self-defense for is in my house.
Mm-hmm.
And it's there's one law in Canada that makes it so it's legal with a very, very, very good lawyer, where the law states you're allowed to defend yourself when someone is in your dwelling with whatever you deem necessary to remove the threat.
Yeah.
So you can say, I deemed it necessary, that this was necessary to remove the threat. But at the same time, after you use a firearm for that, you have to be able to prove that it was stored properly. You didn't just have your handgun sitting on your nightstand, whatever, right? Like if you
Yeah.
use a handgun in that case, it's very, very difficult to prove that. But if you use
Yeah.
a 12 gauge or whatever, because the storage laws on non-restricteds are a fair amount less strict, you could probably get away with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I agree. And especially like people who live in rural areas where if you call the cops, it could take like fucking 20 minutes, half an hour for anyone to get out there. By that time, you could be fucking dead or
Yeah.
whatever.
And I haven't read into it on, I'd have to try and actually look for it. But I remember hearing from someone that it's legal for farmers and people in rural areas to, they could leave a loaded rifle sitting next to their door.
Right.
But if they use that rifle, then it's not legal anymore, and they should be allowed to defend themselves from
Oh, yeah.
from people. A lot of the crime that is happening nowadays is out in rural areas at farmers' houses. People will take literally everything from a farmer's property, all of their tractors, all of their
Yeah.
equipment, all of their Tylenol, their bread, their milk.
Yeah.
They will strip the entire house clean.
It's actually funny you mentioned that because I think I told you this. I used to work for an excavation company, and we parked our equipment out at the farm. And with the whole rise in gas prices, someone came and drained every single piece of equipment he had of fuel, completely dry. Our dump truck, he drained it. He didn't touch our excavator, but the tractors, he drained it all dry. Hundreds of thousands of dollars of fuel. He just drove up and stole. And the funny part is the truck and the tractor and all that shit was stored right next to the house and all that shit. So people are robbing farmers blind, right?
Jesus.
Yeah.
Fucking vagrants.
Yeah, so especially
But yeah,
if they're willing to make that exception for farmers to be able to store a loaded gun there, they should make that exception that they are allowed to defend themselves with that
Yeah.
gun.
yeah,
Because the RCMP are minimum 45 minutes away usually,
yeah,
sometimes an hour or more away, right? Like
yeah.
you're not going to call the RCMP and be like, okay, I'll just hide in my bathroom. This guy's not going to break through the door.
Yeah.
It's fine.
It's like,
No, I'm
okay,
going to fucking take the matter into my own hands.
yeah. Well, boys, that's 45 minutes. So I guess we can kind of wrap her up here. Anything else you wanted to touch on, or anything you wanted to show off from your collection that...
I gotta ask, if you could own one gun, all of us, one gun,
Okay.
if you could own it, what would you get?
E36.
Yes, that's a good one.
See, I don't know, because, like, I hadn't really shot any guns before I went out with you guys, but I really liked the Desert Eagle.
The Deagle was fun.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'd say the... Yeah.
Yeah, the Deagle is a nice gun.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Yeah, I have so many that I want, but they're not easy to get. But I can't say I've
Probably
actually
illegal.
researched it. Like, I'd love to get a Chris Vector.
Well, you can actually. They're cheap.
I've-
They're
I've-
non-restricted.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd love to. Like, I don't know where I'd go. I'd just to look at every now and then, like, because there's
The
such
click.
a cool looking gun, and yeah, like MP5s, MP7s. I'd love to have one of each of those. Like, there's a list I would just go buy if I
Oh
could.
yeah, yeah. You can actually get the G36 in Canada too. Not the C variant, but the standard HK G36 is
Okay.
legal to own. Yeah.
Hmm.
$8,000 later, but you can get it.
Yeah, Jesus.
I don't know what I would want in reality, because what I would want wouldn't necessarily be legal, but like my one dream gun,
Well,
right?
it
Like
doesn't have to be legal if you could get it at all.
if I could get it at all and shoot it, I'd probably go for an LMG of some sort, just because I mean, that would cost probably $1,000 or more each time I go out to the range to shoot it.
What
But-
specifics though? Like if you like think what's the first one that comes to your mind?
I don't even remember what it's called. It's got the box with the
M249,
no.
M19, 1950, or the M2 Browning.
It's an old.
World War II.
I think it would have been a World War II era LMG.
MG34.
Yes.
Okay, the MG34.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That'd be a cool gun.
I'll put a picture of the guns we're talking
Yeah,
about.
do that one.
Yeah.
MG34 is the name.
Okay.
Can I just keep listing guns then?
Well, we gotta wrap her up eventually.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing I would have to say to people is, if you haven't shot a gun before, even if you're scared of it, go to the range, ask for them to properly teach you about it,
Yeah.
and
Do research of your own too. Like
do research of your own. Don't listen to the media. The media is
fake news.
fucking fake news. Yeah. They're making gun owners seem scarier than they are. They're making guns seem scarier than they are. They are really fun. Yeah.
Go do it
educate
for
yourself and try
yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Go do it for yourself, or Andrew and Eric will show up in ski masks at your door and shoot you.
It's no, he won't.
Well, that would be illegal.
That's
Right.
illegal.
Actually, yeah. So see, the thing is, we're physically not capable of doing that because it's illegal.
It's illegal. Criminals
Yeah.
shouldn't be doing it. I don't know. They don't. It's illegal. They
Yeah.
wouldn't do
Illegal,
that.
They wouldn't do that.
It's a crime.
Exactly.
There's been no murders since they said do not murder.
Yeah.
Fact.
According to the Trudeau government, if they said do not murder, if they put in a new law, they'd be like, yeah, this will
Yeah.
stop all murders.
Yeah.
That's exactly how they'd look at it.
Yeah, if I get enough on one thing, just tell people, inform yourself on people who are knowledge on this, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just inform yourself for yourself. Don't
Yeah.
listen to other people
Some-
that don't know what they're talking about.
Some places to look up information, good communities. I mean, there's a whole pile of gun YouTubers, and the communities that they have are usually very knowledgeable and very good.
Yeah.
And then, Canadian guns, Canada guns. Reddit.
Oh yeah, Canada Guns Reddit. They'll
Yeah,
support you. Yeah.
yeah, it's a really good community. If you say I know nothing about guns, but I want to learn more about guns, they'll teach you. If you say I want to go out shooting, but I want someone who's knowledgeable to take me out,
You'll
this is
probably get
roughly
answers.
the area I live in. Someone might go meet you at a range and take you out shooting.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Contrary to belief, gun owners are good people, man. They
Yeah.
don't just all go and shoot people,
Yeah.
right?
We didn't
Yeah.
shoot Brandon and Brody when we were
Right?
out.
I mean, it definitely looked like it, but just
No.
fucking off-roading
No.
in this field into this little
No, I mean,
ravine.
it's just a back thought. It never would. It's just
Yeah,
in
it
case
is.
we need.
That's
Yeah,
one of those
right.
thoughts that just pops up, and you're like, I could do that, but I won't.
But I'm
Yeah.
not
nice
the
to
same
them.
person.
But yeah, thank you guys for joining us and for educating us
Oh,
and
yeah.
the audience more on
Fine.
guns and gun ownership.
Glad to be here.
So I don't know if you want to talk about it all, but I know there's talks of you guys and your own podcast.
Absolutely.
Is there anywhere that our viewers could kind of find you for when you're
Not
ready
yet.
to release? No.
Well,
Sort of.
the channel is made. We don't have channel art. We don't have anything set up. But the channel name is Fuck A, with a star instead of a U. Good luck finding that on YouTube because that's probably already banned. Well, not banned, but
Maybe-
shadow banned. But
Maybe we'll send you the link after, and
Yeah,
you
yeah.
can post in the description or something.
Yeah, definitely.
yeah, we're looking
Alright.
at doing some podcasts and other content on there. At some point.
Yeah,
Pretty soon.
it'd be pretty cool to do some collabs with you guys and some features
Absolutely.
eventually. But yeah, like I said before, thank you for joining us. Brody, did you want to let the audience know where they can find us on social media?
The main ones we use are Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We'll do our best to give them a shout out how we can. Other than that, if you want to always listen to us, we're on Spotify. Have you figured out the YouTube thing? Did you ever look into that?
I haven't put us on YouTube podcasts yet, but we're still on Google Podcasts, so
Okay, so there you go. That's the other one.
and Apple,
Yeah.
fucking
Who
Apple.
uses iPhones?
Yeah.
Use that Mac OS garbage, man.
Yeah,
Get a
what?
Windows. Be a normal person.
Exactly. But yeah, nothing really else as we're, still
Yeah,
rebranding.
keep an eye out. The logo should be revealed to you guys soon if it hasn't already by the time this goes up, which will be in like 2 or 3 weeks or 2 or 3 months based on our fucking current recording schedule. Definitely interested to make more content for you guys on other platforms. I'll end up getting the Redbubble back up and running. We want to make some cool merch designs, including the Church of Brody designs for all of you. And yeah, our Patreon's still there for whenever we gain traction, in the next 12 years. But yeah, thank you guys so much.
Don't worry.
If you keep doing it long enough,
I'm-
one of your headlines has to hit the mark.
I'm groveling for your views. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching and listening, and thank you for the support over the last few months. Thank you to those who are still, anticipating new content. Hopefully, things get back into a semi-regular schedule. I know Brody and I want to get back to streaming very soon. So look out for that as well.
Streaming pretty soon too.
They also stream, so go click the links is basically what I'm saying, because there's too much fucking things to say now. And make sure to go like and comment on the YouTube video. I've gotten a few likes here and there from people who watch, but make sure just to engage with the video as much as you can to kind of boost it a little bit. And yeah, thank you guys so much, and we'll see you next time. Bye.